In today's Warzone video, I'm giving you the top 6 meta AR loadouts you guys need to be using. These are statistically the most popular and best guns to use in the game, so I think you guys are going to enjoy today's video. If you happen to enjoy it, give it a like, subscribe, notifications turned on, and let's hop into this. All right, so for our first gun today, we're taking a look at the XM4. This is going to be making its way into a top tier meta slot, 0 recoil, really good damage profile. It's a really fun gun to be able to use, so let's give you guys a good build for it. So first thing, muzzle category, we're going to go for the MX silencer here. We always go for the MX here on these Vanguard weapons. Usually speaking, we go for that at least on the ARs. Not as so much like the SMGs. You know, we normally go for like a recoil boost or something on those. Barrel section, what we're gonna do is we're gonna go for the Reisdorf 720mm shrouded barrel. This is a really solid barrel here. It's gonna help it make it super accurate and controllable, and I really like it for that reason. In the underbarrel section, we're going to go for the M13 strife angled here for that horizontal recoil control. This thing's not going to have all that much vertical. We also have a couple more attachments that are going to help out with that. So there's no real reason to kind of double up on it and get some more cons out of, you know, our underbarrel. In the magazine section, what we're going to do is we're going to go for the 8mm Clouser 60 round drum. Always got to go for that 60. You guys know I'm saying 60 round mag kind of guy, so I always go for that 60. And I mean, it's just kind of the best option in here, to be honest with you guys. Now, on the ammunition side of things, we're going to go for lengthened here for that increase in bullet velocity. Now, the grip section, what we're going to do is we're going to go down here. We're going to go for the hatch grip here for vertical, horizontal recoil control, and of course, that beautiful flinch resistance. The hatch grip is super good, and I definitely recommend it in a lot of these ARs. In the optics section, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to go down here and I'm going to throw on the very last scope here, which is going to be the SVT scope, that 3 to 6 times scope. Really like that on this gun. It makes it super easy to be able to use, and I love being pinpoint accurate, and this really helps me out with that. Now, in the stock section, what I actually go for here is I go for the very first stock, VDD 24SZ adjustable. I personally really like this thing. It gives me that increase in accuracy, ADS speed, and of course aim walking movement speed. It gives me a tad bit of mobility, but also helps increase my accuracy, which I definitely like. I don't really care too much about that sprint of fire, movement speed, and hip fire accuracy. This is just really good stock here overall. Now, in perk 1, what we're going to do is we're going to throw on tight grip here for accuracy and recoil during sustained fire. This is really solid to be able to run. And then perk 2, what we're going to do is we're going to go throw on fully loaded for that maximum starting ammo capacity. So this is my full build here for the XM40. Super good. Definitely should be using this AR here after all the updates. Next up, I'm going to give you guys a build here for the Kilo 141. Of course, this is the tried and true Kilo. We absolutely love this. This is the Cerulean variant. It's a tracer. It's really fun to be able to use. And let's hop into a solid build for it. It's not going to change too much, but let's give you guys a build. So, of course, we're going to throw on the mono suppressor here, sound suppression, damage range. Barrel section, we're going to go for the Syncard Arms 19.8 Prowler barrel, damage range, bullet velocity, and of course, recoil control. Gotta love that. Always roll for the Prowler over the SOCOM. Prowler does everything the SOCOM does, but is just better. So always go for the Prowler barrel. In the underbarrel section, we're going to go for the Commando foregrip here, recoil stabilization, aiming stability. I can see some people trying to go for something like maybe like a Ranger foregrip down here previous to some of the updates, but they kind of messed with the recoil a little bit here in the more recent updates and made it like an absolute laser beam once again. So it's going to have like no recoil, so you should just be using the Commando foregrip and don't actually, you know, slow yourself down more than is necessary with some of these other underbarrels. Now, the magazine section, got to go for that 60. I'm not going to say it, but you guys know what the drill is. Just got to go for that 60. Stay away from the 100-round drum mag. I mean, we ain't got to go for a 100-round drum. That's just absolutely ridiculous. No reason to do that. You're going to slow yourself down way too much. It's not beneficial. Just go for the 60 or the 50 if you want a little bit more mobility, but I go for the 60. Now, in the optics section, to finish off this whole thing, I'm going to go for that beautiful VLK 3x optic. Ever since that update, and they kind of buffed it up a little bit and also upped the recoil, I really enjoy running a 3x optic on this thing as opposed to something like a Corp Combat Hollow. You guys can for sure still run the Corp Combat Hollow and have a lot of fun, but for me personally, my go-to right now is the VLK 3x, so that like nice little T-pose reticle, and this thing is just amazing. So this is my full build here, and this is like my go-to AR right now, by the way. Absolutely love the Kilo, and I'm super happy it's meta. For our next gun, we're gonna give you guys a build here for the NZ41. This is a gun that a lot of people either want to fall out of the meta, still want to be having in the meta, but it's still really good here after all the updates. So let's give you guys a build for it. Muzzle category, we're gonna go for the MX silencer here, of course. Barrel section, we're gonna go do is throw in the Orb Weaver 360mm BC barrel. We always got to run the Orb Weaver barrel. No reason you guys should be running, you know, anything else besides the Orb Weaver 360mm barrel. In the underbarrel section, what we're going to do is we're going to go throw on the M13 strife angled here. You don't need to go throw on the hand stop or something like that. This is going to help out perfectly fine. It's also not going to slow you down any bit more than it needs to. And I just believe that the strife angled is definitely the way to go for this gun. Magazine, we're going to go for the 6.5mm Sakura 50 round mag. I always go for the Sakura 50 as opposed to the Clouser 40. I do see people try to run the Clouser 40, and that's definitely still good as well, but I go for the Sakura 50, and it's always done me right, so I stick with that. Now, the ammunition side of things, we're going to go for lengthened for the increase in bullet velocity. Rear grip section here, we're gonna go throw on, what is it, the hatch grip here for vertical, horizontal, recoil control, and that flinch resistance. Really solid, and also gives you no cons. This is like a perfect grip for the ARs. In the optic section, what we're gonna do is we're gonna go throw on the 3 to 6 times scope here, the SVT scope. Really like running this, though you guys can always, if you want to, throw on the G16 2.5x. That'd be my other recommendation, though I pretty much have exclusively switched over to run the SVT scope on a large majority of my ARs, just because I like having that precision that I get out of the SVT scope. Now in the stock section, we're gonna go for the Orb Weaver E-Pack, recoil control, recoil recovery, accuracy, and flinch resistance. We don't pay too much attention to the cons because we're trying to make this thing a laser beam and be able to keep on target. And then in perk 1, we're going to go for brace for the initial firing recoil. And then in perk 2, we're going to go for fully loaded for maximum starting ammo capacity. So absolutely love this thing. It's a real fun gun to be able to use. Still solid even after any of all the updates. Definitely be running your NZ41. All right, next up, we're gonna take a look here at the M13. I absolutely love that the M13 is in the meta. I mean, it's real fun to be able to use, and I'm just happy that some of these Modern Warfare weapons are getting some love. They're getting some buffs to be able to actually be better and compete with some of these Vanguard and Cold War ARs, or just weapons in general. So first thing, muzzle category, let's get into this. Mono suppressor here. We always run the mono on our Modern Warfare weapons. Ain't gotta explain that one too much. Barrel section, we're gonna go for the Tempest Marksman, damage range, bullet velocity, and recoil control. We gotta love that. Tempest Marksman is real solid, and definitely recommend you guys to run this exclusively on this gun. Underbarrel section, we're gonna go for the Commando foregrip here. Ain't no reason really much now to run something else. I mean, you could run maybe like a Ranger foregrip. I did that when I was using this as more of a closer range gun. I had to run like, a Corp Combat hollow sight, but that worked out really nicely. So the Ranger foregrip, I guess you want to be able to run that, but for me, normally speaking, go for the Commando. Magazine section, we're gonna go for the 60 round mag. I gotta say, a little bit of thing here, you always want to stay away from the blackout 30 round mag. I don't care what it says here, damage range, no visible traces, all this stuff. It's not worth it. It's not usable. 30 round mag on this thing is not usable in Warzone, and pretty much neither is the blackout, so don't use this. Always go for the 60 and maybe the 50, but I pretty much recommend the 60 just because the high fire rate of the M13 pretty much makes you blow through a lot of ammo very quickly. And then for our last thing, of course, in the optic section, either the Corp Combat hollow sight or maybe something like the VLK 3x optic, or if you go down a little bit farther, much like for any Modern Warfare ARs, you guys could always use the PBX Hollow 7 sight, as that looks a little bit cooler than the Corp Combat, but it still functions pretty much exactly the same. Normally speaking, I'm going to probably go for the Corp Combat though, or the VLK 3x, but right now I'm going for the Corp Combat. So this is my full builds here on this gun. Absolutely love the M13. Hope y'all be using this thing in Warzone. It fries. I mean, I have a lot of fun using it. Next up, I got to give you guys a build here for the Automaton, aka the Auto John. This thing's making its way back into the meta here after some of the updates. People are starting to use this thing a lot again, so I'll give you guys a build for it. First thing, muzzle, we're gonna go, of course, MX silencer here. Got to throw that bad boy on there. Next up in the barrel section, we go for the Zach 600mm BFA barrel. Highly accurate and controllable, reduced scope sway and gun bob. This is real solid. I recommend this over the Anastasia sniper pretty much any day of the week. I do believe that the Automaton's got a tad bit of recoil, so we got to be able to compensate for that by running the Zach 600mm barrel. Underbarrel section, what we're gonna do is we're gonna go for the M19 41 hand stop here for that vertical recoil control. You definitely are gonna be wanting to run the hand stop on this thing. I don't really think too much about the idle sway control. That's not much of an issue. We just need that vertical recoil control down. Magazine section, we're gonna go for the 6.5 Sakura 75 round drum. Gotta love that. And then in the ammunition side of things, we're gonna go for lengthen for that overall increase in bullet velocity. And then in the rear grip section here, much like we do for a lot of these other ARs, we're gonna go for the hatch grip here for vertical and horizontal recoil control and that beautiful flinch resistance. And then in the optics section, we're gonna go ahead and throw on, of course, much like we've done for some of the other Vanguard ones down here, which is gonna be the SVT scope, that 3 to 6 times magnification. Real solid, and I definitely enjoy that, peak precision accuracy I get with this scope, as opposed to maybe something like the G16, which maybe doesn't give me as much accuracy as I would like. So more or less just go for this or the G16. You really can't go wrong more or less with either or of them. Now in the stock section, we're gonna go for the Zach Skeletal here. Aim walking movement speed, aim walking steadiness, and initial firing recoil. We don't really care too much about the sprint to fire speed, hip fire accuracy. It's not too much of a worry for us. We just like, the Zach Skeletal. Also, at least for the Steamer variant here, you pretty much lose half the gun when you don't run it. So, I mean, it's kind of good that you're choosing the stock anyways. Now, in the perk section, we're going to go for a tight grip here for accuracy and recoil during sustained fire. And then in perk 2, we're going to go for, once again, fully loaded. So this is my full builds here for this Automaton. I definitely really like this thing. Happy it's making its way back into the meta. Was for a little while, got kicked out. Now it's back. All right, and for our final build here today, we're gonna give you guys a build on the XM4. So this thing is just still highly used after any and all updates. People really love this thing. So let's give you guys a build for the XM4 to help you dominate Warzone with. So Gotta go for that agency suppressor. This is definitely the best one out there. We run this on all of our Cold War ARs. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. You always run the agency or whatever, the GRU suppressor. If it's like for an AK style variant or AK gun, you always run the agency or the GRU. Now in the barrel section, we're gonna go for the 13.5 task force. Gotta run this thing. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about this one either. It's kind of like you run this, but you pretty much ain't running a barrel at all because you're making it into like a hybrid, you know, sniper support, something like that. But this is a true AR build, so we're not doing that. We always run the task force. Now in the underbarrel section, we're gonna go for the field agent grip here, horizontal and vertical. Always got to do this. And then in the magazine section, we're gonna go for the Stenag 60 round mag. I love that 60 round mag on this gun. I mean, I run the 60 pretty much on a large majority of my ARs now, just because I prefer to have more ammo capacity over mobility. A lot of these Vanguard SMGs that you run have incredible mobility, so I'm not too worried about getting mobility out of my primary, as I'm pretty much running around with my secondary out for the most part anyways. You know, it just makes sense. And then in the optic section, we're gonna go throw on the Axle arms 3 times here, as this is like pretty much the only optic I'd ever recommend to use on the Cold War ARs. I mean, the rest of these are just really not all that great. Make it into a hybrid, maybe throw on like a micro flex, but otherwise I pretty much only ever say to run the Axle arms. So this is my full build here. This is my full video. If you guys enjoyed it, give it a like, subscribe, notifications turned on, and I'll see you guys all later. The channel Cap, don't be Randy, and I'm out. Peace.